uncrowned Queen of England of only 9 days, and also the young Princess Elizabeth Tudor, future Queen Elizabeth I. Now, high dignitaries of the church were no exception, and during the reign of Queen Mary Tudor, Archbishop Cranmer and Bishops Latimer and Ridley were also brought into the Tower of London through this very gate. Those three pious, holy men were later taken to Oxford, where they were burned alive at the stake for committing heresy. Now, these and many more poor, unfortunate souls would travel from their places of trial at London's Guildhall or the Palace of Westminster, come down the River Thames, come through this very gate, land at these very steps, to be met by the yeoman jailer with his axe and an escort of yeoman warders. They would then be taken through the Bloody Tower archway just behind you to their cells or their dungeon to await their fate. For some, it was only a short journey from this cell or this dungeon to their place of execution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to turn around, look behind you. Above the archway, you will see the Bloody Tower. Now, this tower was originally called the Garden Tower because it once overlooked the Lieutenant's Garden. But during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, it became known as the Tower of Blood, or the Bloody Tower, because of all the alleged tragedies that have taken place within it. Now, of all these tragedies, surely the most tragic must be the alleged murder of the two boy princes, King Edward V and his younger brother Richard the Duke of York, aged 12 and 9 years old respectively, who were allegedly stabbed and smothered to death whilst living in this very tower under the protection of their uncle Richard the Duke of Gloucester. Their tiny bodies were thrown down the steps and they were buried under a pile of stones. But the very next day, an unnamed priest reburied their bodies in a secret burial plot on the south side of the Great White Tower, and there, ladies and gentlemen, they remained for 191 years, until workmen during the reign of King Charles II discovered a chest, and on looking inside that chest, yes, discovered two tiny bodies. Now, the experts of the day will agree that these were in fact the bodies of the two missing boy princes, and on the orders of the King Charles II, the boys' bodies were taken to Westminster Abbey here in London, where they were reinterred at Innocents Corner, and where, ladies and gentlemen, they still lie to this very day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here in the archway of the Bloody Tower, have a look. It's the second portcullis that we have here in the Tower of London. Remember, I promised to show it to you. Here it is. You will notice that this portcullis is much larger than the first. This portcullis, ladies and gentlemen, it weighs over 2.5 tons. And yes, Americans, it dates back over 700 years. That's proper history for you, 700 years. In fact, I'll tell you what. While we're here, we've got a couple of minutes, I'll tell you a little story. I was talking to an American lady in the Jewel House queue up the hill the other day, and I said to her, "Madam, what is it you do for a living?" She said to me, "I'm an American history teacher." I said, "How long does that take? About an hour, hour and a half?" It's not going to take long, is it? Remember, we're only joking, folks. Remember our special relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, just as a footnote, there is no way that Mel Gibson could hold up that portcullis with one hand whilst fighting with his sword in the other. Only in America could that happen. Now, please stand aside. Let me through just here. I'm going to lead you through the archway into the inner ward of the Tower of London, where I have more stories of legend and superstition, most of which I'll make up on the way. Come on.